Hey, I'm Russ.
And I'm Steve.
Growing up in the 80s, we were introduced to video games, movies, and technology that made a lasting impression on us and forever enriched our lives.
I think I'm gonna cry.
It's been a fascinating journey to be a part of, one that we constantly treasure.
Higher, booty.
Our goal is simple: share our magical moments of discovery and geek out with lovely folks, just like you.
Achievement unlocked.
So if you crave pixel goodness, memorable moments, and experiences that make your inner child do the happy dance, you've come to the right place.
Let's do this.
Welcome to Joygasm.
Yeah.
Hello, everybody. This is Russ, Xbox Live, gamer handle Toaster360, and I'm joined by my brother, Steve.
What up?
What is your Xbox Live gamer tag, Steve?
Stevovich.
Oh, the one and only. I have to give you guys an update regarding my name, as I realized I have not done this before. But if you're searching for me, the O in Toaster is actually the numerical 0. So it's T0ASTER and then the numerical 360, Toaster 360. So hopefully someone who already has Toaster 360 in the classical sense is not being barraged by people either wanting to play with them or just absolutely hating him. It will, hopefully we'll be able to fix that right away. So how you doing, Steve?
Doing good, Russ. Doing real good.
Oh. Have you had a nice week, Steve?
I had a productive week. But I'm well rested and here. Good to be here.
You look bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, Steve.
Bushy-tailed indeed.
Or is it just bushy?
Just bushy. More bushy than tailed.
Oh. Well, we have some fun announcements regarding Joygasm. We are going to be having more of a presence on social media. I've been kind of going through and getting that all set up. And so on Twitter, you can find us at Joygasm TV. On Facebook, you can find us at just facebook.com/Joygasm. And then on YouTube, we are also on there as Joygasm, although it's a little harder to find us on YouTube just because they have some requirements in place. So I think you have to have like at least 100 subscribers and you have to have had the channel active for at least 30 days. So once we get all those two filters, then we'll be right as rain.
And I think on Facebook, at least I was looking for our page the other day, and your wife had to point out to me that when you search for Joygasm, you actually have to scroll over and select pages, or else it won't populate in the search field. Joygasm won't be there unless you scroll over and hit pages, and then it pops up.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Interesting. Okay, that's interesting. I know that one of the fun little happy mistakes, or not really happy mistakes, but kind of a side thing that's occurred is we haven't really formally announced that we have these pages up, but due to the friends who already exist in our feeds and whatnot, the page has slowly been kind of trickling out. And so as a result, we've had a few of our good friends actually automatically just start liking the page, which is great. Big thank you is in order for that.
Thank y'all.
So moving on to the main event, as we should not delay it any longer. Steve and I just got back from watching Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. So
Literally just got back.
Yeah.
We're at the theater and then drove straight home.
We're just really excited to be able to do this podcast while everything is just fresh in our minds. I think we're still in the process of processing. How about that? Pop. So we are going to do two versions of this podcast. Just because we really want to be able to talk about what we just saw, but we also want to be sensitive to those who haven't seen it yet. So when you look at the episodes, you're going to see an episode 3 and an episode 3B. And in capital letters, I'm going to put on there, one's going to say spoiler alert, and the other one is going to say no spoilers. So that way whichever option you choose, hopefully there'll be something there to your liking. But we just figured that way we'll be able to kind of get it out while we're all excited about it. So right now, we're going to give you a moment to check which episode you've downloaded and are listening to. Just check that title and make sure it's the one that you want. Go ahead and check right now. Okay. Now we're back.
And break.
So, here we go. We are going to, let's start off with just our high-level reaction to the movie. No spoilers. So this
that's going to be kind of difficult. But I'm just saying it's going to be difficult. Catch me if I start kind of trailing off.
I'm going to catch you. And then I'm going to drop you.
That's right.
So, yeah, let's just try and keep it high level. Let's start off with, okay, did you like the movie, Steve?
I did like the movie. I would say, and it's always the case where when you have the sequel to the first movie, that it's always not as good as the first movie. And, I mean, while that is still the case, this is a very good sequel to the first movie. This is a great follow-up. It had all the magic of the first movie. And you know what? It was great to see people of all ages in the theater too. It's like the movie had something to somebody's liking, to everybody's liking. What'd you think, Russ?
I thought it was great. I have to preface this with talking about the first time I saw Guardians of the Galaxy, and I actually did a written blog post on this a while ago, but I've never read the comic book. I don't think you have either.
No.
I didn't know Guardians of the Galaxy existed. And so when I saw the movie for the first time, I remember thinking to myself, wow, like Disney and Marvel are really taking a risk with this because it's not a known IP such as the Avengers or Spider-Man, something to that effect. It's like this unknown comic book. And so I went into it with pretty low expectations. And then was completely blown away when I went in there. I just watching the film and falling in love with all of these characters and the storyline, the script, everything. I just walked out thinking, "Oh my gosh, like this is really high up on my list. I really do love this film." And so it's interesting to look at it now with the sequel coming out because now I've flip-flopped where my expectations are super high going in because the first one was so great. And I'm really, really happy to say that I would say that for the most part, it was a great film. Like I really did enjoy just about everything about it. I love the fact that there were new characters that were introduced into the world of Guardians of the Galaxy that were not like throwaway characters. Kind of what I talk about. I feel like that's one of the things with Michael Bay's Transformers movies is that he introduces these characters, these different Autobots or Decepticons, but he kills them off so quickly and everything else. It's like you just don't really have the chance to really
appreciate the character.
Yeah, appreciate the character, bond with the character, that sort of thing. Whereas in this one, there are just all these characters that come up and they're not throwaway, like that you actually want to know more about them. And so that was definitely super cool as well. Music, the soundtrack was still great. Had some poignant moments in the soundtrack, which I liked. Also, just the selection of music. I think the selection of music was a nice, I guess, continuation from the first film.
Right.
I feel like there was a lot of good selections made that kind of, I don't know, it worked well for the tone of the film.
Right.
Just like as in the first film. The first film had certain song selections from the late 70s and 80s and like early 80s, I guess you could say. But the types of songs that were selected were very fitting for the exposition. Whereas the second one, you have a bit more storytelling going on since the exposition has been set and we're kind of seeing what else is going on. But I found myself really enjoying the world of Guardians of the Galaxy.
Right. I had similar feelings with the first movie where I went into it thinking similar thoughts. I forgot who I went with, but I didn't want to see it. I didn't want to see it at all. And many of my friends said, no, I know the title sounds corny, and I know it looks kind of awkward, kind of odd, and a little bit funny, but you got to see it. And it was unanimous between my male friends and my female friends. And so I saw it with, like you said, very low expectations. Like, all right, fine, I'll go, good grief. And I was blown away by the movie. It was great entertainment and hit me in the feels. Oh, I couldn't wait to see the second movie. And I already knew after seeing the first movie that I wanted to go to the theater and see it. I just didn't want to wait for it to go to DVD. So when this came out, number one, the preview was everything that lived up to the movie. I know sometimes the previews go, oh, isn't this movie great? And then you watch the movie, and then the movie kind of falls short. But this one, across the board, with the music and the continued story and just the cast, they've cast everybody so well.
They did.
I don't want to go too much into the character scene on this episode, but for the large part, the main characters are just cast. Everybody plays their part very, very well. They just owned it.
Yeah, I agree. I think that is one of the biggest things is when it comes to the casting. The casting is so huge for any film. And to your point, I mean, absolutely. Even all the newcomers that came in, I felt like they fit. Like they just really did fit their roles well. And that to me, when you think of Guardians of the Galaxy's visual style, it's really kind of silly. I mean, you have just these real rainbow, bright colored palettes going on and that sort of thing. And I think the saving grace for a film like this really is the story and the actors that can bring these characters to life, like just the quality of the casting itself, like what you just said. I think that's really what brings it together, and their ability to be able to bring the screenplay to life is just. I think if you were to have certain other folks that were placed in those roles, I don't think the film would be what it is. I think they've done a really nice job of curating those actors.
You know what they've they've also done a nice job with is integrating computer graphics with live characters, which has always been a difficult thing in the past because, I mean, I'm not a producer and director or special effects artist, but you basically have to tell somebody live, this is what's going to happen, act as if this imaginative character was right in front of you. And though they try their best, you could see it in their face as if they know they're not speaking to anybody in front of them.
Right.
And the character is just animated right there.
Mm-hmm.
But in this one, I mean, it just seemed like the two worlds blended, where the CG and the live characters, they did a better job of emotions and expressions on their face, and treating the scenes as if it was all one world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I found myself having that same kind of reaction where just, Rocket Raccoon or, Baby Groot and all the other characters were great. I have to say, I enjoyed the new logo animation that Marvel Studios had at the beginning.
I noticed that too.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. It was like they've I still just about all of the logo treatments that they've done with regards to the animations before the films begin, they've all been really cool. I liked how when they had their start kind of having the comic book flipping motif going, and then they slowly started bringing 3D into that, and now it's kind of like they've gone into a full embrace of just showing the family of actors who portray these different characters into the logo itself. So that's really cool. I think people will get a nice response from that. So the other thing too was the I'm trying to think of how I can say this without going into too much detail.
I'm gonna slap you if you do.
Yeah, I'll hold off on that until we do the
I was amped to hear it, and then you took it away from me.
I just like to tease you. What else is there? I'm trying to think of things that I can say for the spoiler-free version. I mean, one of the things I can say is make sure you guys stay till the end of the film because there are several Easter eggs that are going on. You know, Marvel's known for that. This is nothing new. Like
more so than usual.
More so than usual. Yeah, we won't talk about what you see in there, but just make sure you guys stay to. I mean, literally to the very last part because I think they had like 4 or 5. Kind of like Easter egg moments at the end. I mean, it was really cool how they just kind of gave you just a huge
helping.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think also too when any movie when the credits start to roll, that's when people start to exit the theater, and no one really cares about the credits. And then personally, I don't really want to care about the credits. I'd rather get out in the traffic, and go home or something, then sit through the theater and watch a bunch of words and names go on the screen.
Yeah.
But in this one, you get to enjoy the music. The music's great. And they give you these Easter eggs too. So it's a time to sit and reflect on the movie and enjoy the finishing off of the film.
Yeah.
And to me, it was just enjoying. That doesn't happen in many films.
Right. Yeah. No, it was really cool. And also the audience that we were with were fun. I mean, you had a lot of participation from the audience in a way that I always enjoy. I'm kind of the personal opinion that a large portion of the experience going to the theater is having a really cool audience to do it with. Be able to laugh together, cry together, react, gasp together, that sort of thing. I mean, it really does add a little bit of a bonus, if you will, to the whole thing. As opposed to cell phones going off and babies crying and people bringing in like some sort of strongly scented food and that sort of thing. You're just like, what the?
Yeah, what are you doing?
Yeah, yeah. So
it's affecting everybody.
And actually, the film itself had several great moments. I mean, just the kind of the broad spectrum of emotion was kind of played with throughout the film, and that's not necessarily anything new because they did that in the first film too. Like you had a lot of humor through it, and then they had touching moments, and then parts of just kind of these kind of plot twists or plot surprise kind of things, and so that was really good. So
I found myself being the only one laughing about a couple of the scenes where I thought, I hope I'm not. I mean, sometimes I can laugh a little bit loud, and I hope I didn't just ruin it for everybody, but there were some scenes where I just thought they were hilarious, and I was bursting out laughing. I thought, okay, I guess I'll shut up now or I'll laugh in my sleeve because no one else is laughing.
Well, I think that people in the theater actually took turns doing that because like there were 2 guys sitting next to me, and I mean you could tell these guys were big Guardian fans. But they were just having a blast. I mean, they just were laughing at things and just having little talks and stuff to themselves briefly on what was going on the screen and how it relates to the comic book and stuff. But yeah, there were times like that where like there'd be something that you'd hear like this like just boisterous laughter coming from somewhere in the theater. But then at the same time, you'd also have other moments in the film where like the entire theater just started laughing.
Right.
Or you could hear little sniffles here and there and that sort of thing. And so yeah, I think it's safe to say that we both recommend, if you haven't seen the film, definitely go out and check it out. It's another Marvel masterpiece.
Indeed.
So
there was one time where the guy sitting behind me had the worst breath.
Oh,
I'm telling you, think of after cigarette.
Are you sure it was his breath, Steve?
Oh, no, it was after cigarette, popcorn, and coffee.
My.
Blend that up and then go, ha, 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 ha. And I was like engulfed the whole movie. I had to like lean forward to try and distance myself from the guy's breath behind me, like clouding my head.
In a weird way, though, I bet that kind of almost acted as like a smell-o-vision quality for you, because there are several scenes in the film where, like, I'm sure that some of those planets may have had that kind of aroma.
Yeah, I hope not. I hope it's better.
Oh, well, okay. We've gotten through the spoiler-free portion, so now here is the moment of spoiler alert. Spoiler alert, spoiler. Can I please get an alert sound? No, that's the police. Okay, we'll go with that one.
That's all I can think of. I'm sorry.
Well, so yeah, let's dive into it. So here we go. Once again, this is the spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. We're gonna go into details of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Steve.
Yes.
What did you think about the film's opening sequence?
What in general? What specifically?
Well, just the reaction. Just here. I'll kick off with it because it's something that's at the forefront of my mind.
Forefront.
Anyway, I really enjoyed how they opened this film. I was really curious because Guardians of the Galaxy had such a signature style to it. And I wanted to see, obviously, when a sequel comes out, they got to, it's the obligatory bigger, better,
right?
Just more panache, if you will. And I really did like how they had like the opening credits with Groot just kind of dancing around with a shallow depth of field, and it's just this like huge space monster thing that the rest of the Guardians are fighting around, and just the whole thing was so well done. Like it really set the tone once again. Like, oh, hey, welcome back to Guardians of the Galaxy. We missed you guys. You're in for a treat, kind of thing. I mean, the whole thing was just.
It's going to be exciting, but we're not going to lose the fun and the excitement.
Yeah, yeah, I really like that. And Groot was just so freaking adorable throughout the whole. I mean, you got little teases of that in the trailer and that sort of thing. But
and the end of the first movie.
I actually had a bit of a concern about that because I thought that they would overdo it or they would do it in a way that where I just got kind of tired of it.
Right.
But I really didn't. I actually really liked. I mean, every time he was up there, it was just a lot of fun. So. That I thought was super cool. Did you have anything about the intro that you liked?
I'm glad they placed the speakers in a very coordinated area where the monster was going to slap him off. I figured that was going to happen at some point. But the whole time when the tentacles and the arms are blah 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 all over the place, I'm thinking, wow. Good thing they put it there and not like an inch to the right or an inch to the left.
Sure.
Good thing they're not playing CDs, you know?
Yeah. Have the track skipping all over the place. Yeah, that was really cool. The monster was fun too. And just, I don't know, I liked kind of getting reintroduced to all the characters in their own way. They kind of had their own little moment in the spotlight doing stuff. And that was just, I found myself just kind of grinning and when that kind of, oh, there's Gamora again. Oh, there's Rocket Raccoon. Oh, there's Star-Lord, that sort of thing. So I thought that was a really cool way to kick it off. What I thought was interesting about the story overall was that it was actually a pretty simple story.
It was all Raccoon's fault, basically. Let's be real. It was all Raccoon's fault.
Well, Raccoon certainly had he was the acting vehicle for the plot, definitely. But what I thought was interesting was that at its core, it was a very simple, like intimate story, as opposed to like a movie that would, you're flying across the galaxy and you're doing all these different things and it's just this huge thing. Really, it really focused on Star-Lord and him meeting his dad.
Right.
I mean, if you think about it, that was that was kind of the central pillar, if you will. And then, of course, you had like the other characters kind of acting as support for around that. But yeah, I liked how they continued. They have this reoccurring theme of family in Guardians of the Galaxy that I really enjoy.
Well, I think that's a developing theme that I've started to see in movies too. You see it in the entire Fast and Furious, where you have this gaggle of people all together, and Toretto and his sister are family. But yeah, this gaggle of people who come from different backgrounds, but all they have is each other, and they all refer to each other as family. And I look at life, and I see a lot of also friends who are very, very close, who also call themselves family. And I think that maybe perhaps it's just because a lot of folks come from maybe disturbed or backgrounds to where they can call someone else who they're not related to family more so than their own blood relative. Mm-hmm. But again, that's also reassuring that in life you can find someone so close to trust and view as a family member.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it was fascinating to watch. I really did like seeing. I was glad that they continued where there was definitely a feeling of continuing where the last film left off, and I always like that. I like that in Lord of the Rings, like, and in fact, Lord of the Rings was even more so, where like they just took that moment with Gandalf facing off against the Balrog,
right,
and then we're just picked right up, we're swept off our feet, and go right back into what's going on with this whole thing. What did you think of Kurt Russell as Star-Lord's dad? How did you think he did?
I do like Kurt Russell, but at the same time, I don't know if he was. And we just got through saying everyone was a really great cast. But I thought maybe somebody different for Star-Lord's father would have been better. Kurt Russell has a lot of mannerisms that he does in every single film. To me,
yeah, that is true,
and a lot of expressions, and I mean, he did pull it off, but at the same time, it just seemed like he was flung in there without grasping the role. Mm-hmm. That's to me.
Yeah.
That being said, I don't know who I would pick to replace him, but
I went back and forth with that. I know what you're saying, because Kurt Russell does have certain, and a lot of actors do, they kind of have their signature nuances that they do with their characters and that sort of thing. I liked him in the film. I thought it was good. I thought I really liked where they took it. Like, I think it would have been boring had they just like, oh, here's his father, and they're now their buddy and everything else. I felt like that just would have lost my interest. But overall, I'm really glad with the character arc that they chose for Kurt Russell's character Ego, which again, I mean, that kind of plays into it too, where like here you have a character by the name of Ego who's like this giant celestial brain that lives in the core of a planet.
Right.
And, if you think of it just like that, it sounds really corny. It sounds really kind of ridiculous and just like, who's writing this, But once again, I think the way that the screenplay was written and the actors that carried out the lines and the performances, I found myself going, yeah, there's a giant brain that has like rainbow bright colors pulsing from it, and it somehow lives in the core of this planet and has, all these different things. Like, I really appreciated how I went from like, oh, it's Star-Lord's dad at the beginning of when we first meet him, to just like, dude, get me away from this twisted creature, this twisted
right.
being. And I liked how they made it. It was these very subtle, like little nuggets that they would just drop in front of you. Like they didn't like speed. They didn't speed food us. They didn't spoon feed us. The fact that, oh, he's a bad guy. He's doing this. He's doing that. He's doing things that are awful and whatnot. I liked just how you had to really pay attention to the way the lines were delivered and what was being said, and it kept stirring with my gut, where I'm just like, wait a minute, he just, because that could have been interpreted what,
right?
And I think the biggest, one of those biggest moments of the movie for me was when he just kind of let out of the bag that he placed the tumor inside Star-Lord's mom. I mean, I even yelled out. I was like, "Oh no!" Like, just like I was shocked. I mean, that was such a great moment in the film where I'm just like, "Oh, he needs to go."
Yeah,
like that is messed up. And I absolutely loved how there was no like verbal response or moment where like the camera is focusing on Star-Lord's reaction. I mean, it's literally like he just pulls out those pulse guns and just starts just blasting away.
Yeah, I think the character was trying to seduce Star-Lord with all the power, and because he was so seduced by his power that he thought he had Star-Lord by the grasp, and
the gonad.
And they even animated that in his eyes. I mean, he was just so fixed on the galaxy and his powers that he could do, just newly discovered abilities. But the reoccurring theme was the reason why he's in this spot for all his life that he's known is that in the first movie, when his mom dies, he can't handle the emotions being a little kid, and he runs outside, and that's when he gets abducted by aliens, or so we think.
That's when Yondu got him.
That's correct. But I mean, if you haven't seen the film before, you're like, oh man, he's getting, beam me up to the starship.
Yeah, right.
So all his life he's been going, my mother was taken from me and doesn't have a clue about his dad. And so you carry that emotion and that grudge, I guess, in a sense, for 30-something years. And then when he appears in front of you and or when your supposed father appears in front of you and just says, yeah, I put a tumor on your mom to kill her. And let me just pause right there. Because at some point, I was kind of enveloped in the whole scene, and I think I missed some lines or some script of why he was going back and forth from Earth. Because he said he left and returned 3 times. I don't understand why he had to kill his mother off. I know she was immortal and he wasn't, but I didn't understand
Well, I think what he was talking about was how he was admitting that he was falling in love with Star-Lord's mom. And he couldn't do that. Like he knew if he would come back a 4th time that he would just stay there and not pursue this higher purpose as far as he saw it. He was all about trying to expand and put these different places along the universe that would ultimately grant him more power.
So his excuse was basically
he had to kill her.
He had to kill her in order for him not to have reason to come back.
Right, right. Which is, I mean, that is twisted. I mean, you think about it like here's someone who identifies the fact that, hey, I'm falling in love with this person.
Right.
And that's something that everybody can identify with and yearn for. Everybody looks for true love, right? I mean, that's something that there are people who unfortunately may never find that in their lives. And there are some people who do find that, and that's just such a special thing, for lack of a better way of saying. I mean, it's something that's one of the greatest pursuits in life is finding your mate. And so for him to be able to just acknowledge that and say, hey, I'm not even human, but I found this species known as a human, and I found myself falling in love with her, and I knew that if I came back a 4th time, I would just forego my delusions of grandeur and just be with this person. So I end up killing her, basically. I mean,
so you gotta go.
Yeah, I mean that was just huge. I really liked how they did that, because it was so twisted, it was so messed up, and it went from like this kind of scales. You know, like when you first meet somebody, it doesn't matter who it is, but you're meeting somebody, and there's almost like this like metaphorical scale where it's like, are they cool or are they not cool?
Right.
And based on what they're saying or how they treat you or the stories you've heard, it goes back and forth, and then pretty soon, like there will be more weight on one side than the other. And so with Ego, it was like, he seems like he could be a nice guy. Obviously he's his dad. Whoa, no. You are a bad man, very bad. So, definitely, just that was one of the biggest moments there. That was probably worth the price of admission right there. Was that part there? It was just deliciously twisted.
Yeah, I think it was also sent a message of guard your heart or guard who you're vulnerable with, because it wasn't a whole lot of time that elapsed once they arrived at Ego's planet, right? Like they got there and they conversed a bit. But pretty much right off the ship, he was like, I made this planet and I made you and you're immortal and let's try to do something with your powers and play ball. And
yeah, I thought that part was a little corny. Like there's just the whole like, let's play catch with dad. Dear old dad.
Yeah, I think also it was supposed to be funny.
Yeah,
I mean, out of everything he makes, and he jests at that later on in the movie. Like, the first thing I made was a ball. He's like, that's what you made? you know, you're stupid.
Yeah.
So I think they did mean that to be funny.
Right.
But
yeah, and then also too, just being able to explore just the whole concept of family. What is family? And I think that you touched upon this a little bit earlier about how that may not necessarily be limited to just blood relatives. Like you have friends that come into your life who sometimes you adopt as your family, or for some folks, it may be you have friends who you're closer with than some of your own family members. I mean, that's just a reality. And I liked how they explored really two different avenues with that. I did like how, the Guardians themselves are a family. And I liked kind of the strain that was placed on the relationship of that, because they wanted to give Star-Lord the opportunity to be able to meet his father, bond with his father, that kind of thing, because it's just, it's if this guy is his dad, it's a very gracious thing for the team to be able to do. But at the same time, it's kind of like, well, wait a minute, I thought we were your family.
Right.
And so there's that whole part of it. And then the second part of it, which is one of my probably one of my favorite parts of the film, is is his name Yano? I keep thinking.
Sounds about right. Wait, hold on. I can MDib it.
There you go. It was the blue skin guy.
I'm looking. Yeah, Yondu with a D.
Yondu, thank you. One of my other favorite parts of the entire film was toward the end when he saves Star-Lord, and he said this line, dude. I started getting all misty-eyed in the theater, dude.
Yeah, I was gonna let it all out, but your wife was sitting right next to me, and I'm thinking I cannot start, crying.
Yeah, man. I mean, just the fact that, like, first of all, I didn't know they did a fantastic job of not really making it predictable at all, like how they were all going to get off this planet alive. Like I kept watching and thinking, okay, there's got to be something. I don't know. And when you see Yondo emerge from that huge, kind of like planet plume explosion thing with Star-Lord, and he sacrifices himself, and that line where he says, "Ego may be your father, but he wasn't your daddy."
Right.
I was just like,
Exactly. Yep.
Like it was just, man. And what's his name? What's the actor's name?
Right here. Oh, you have it up.
Let's see if we can find it here. I got to make sure I give him proper acknowledgement. Michael Rooker, that's right. I felt like he really he delivered that perfectly. And even Chris Pratt, like just his reaction to it. I mean, you got a glimpse of that kind of 10-year-old boy in him again. And he had this realization of just the fact that Yondu was his kind of like his rearing parent.
Right. And I did like the behind the scenes where it showed Yondu giving Star-Lord all these little life experiences. He learned to fly a ship when he was 10,
right.
He said. I mean, he learned to shoot.
Right.
All these things that a dad would do to his son. I mean, drive a car for the first time, that's something you do with your dad typically. If you're gonna target shoot, that's something you're gonna do with your dad. He didn't play ball, but other stuff, other life experiences to mature Star-Lord from being a 10-year-old boy into being a 30-something-year-old man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. No, it was just super well done, and I thought it was like a really nice send off to the character. Like just some, going back to the whole, if you kill off a character too soon, or if you hang on to a character for too long, you have to find just that perfect moment of where a character's journey has been completed. And even if that means that it's a sorrowful goodbye, then so be it. That's what it can call for. And it has like a really great moment of the whole thing. Plus the fact that with his character arc in the first film, I thought of him as kind of being this kind of douchebag, despicable, type of character. And by the end of this one, I'm like, dude, you're my hero, dude. Like, what a cool character.
I just think they killed him off too soon.
Oh, you do?
I do, because we find out how strong of a character he is. He was strong in the first one, but in this one, it just goes further. And we find out that Star-Lord is a Celestial, and now he has all these abilities, and he harnessed them in fighting, his dad in the end.
Mm-hmm.
And then we see Yondu give Star-Lord that little molecular space suit so that he could breathe in outer space. And I'm thinking, okay, you just found out you were a Celestial, and you were bonding rocks to make a big Pac-Man, and you were doing this and doing that.
Which was freaking awesome. I actually thought about our first... I hate to totally T-bone what you're saying, but it it totally brought me back to our story that we told everybody about how our first video game was Pac-Man.
Right.
Just seeing that huge Pac-Man, I was like, yes! Anyway, go ahead.
They made that for us!
Yeah, no. I think they listen to Joygasm.
But here they are. Star-Lord's life has just been spared, and all of a sudden now he can't get the spacesuit off of him. How was he supposed to get off in the first place? Number one, and number two, if he's Celestial and he can formulate stuff, which he could, why can't he formulate some sort of mask or shield over Yondu to spare him? I mean, maybe it was just emotional panic crisis time, but
yeah. Well, and to be fair, I mean, he did only make a ball.
Well, no, he made Pac-Man. He bonded all these rocks together. Remember, he made this big fist, and he was pounding his ego.
Although, so for the sake of debate, those were kind of more crude objects that he could combine together. I mean, I don't think. I mean, if I were to step on my nerd hat here for a moment, Steve, I think that he wouldn't understand, devising some sort of, let's say, for instance, he created out of nothing another one of those devices that allowed Michael Rooker to be able to survive and stuff. Yondu. Thank you. Yondu. I think that it's a sophisticated piece of technology. And you would probably have to know all the ins and outs of all the components. You couldn't just look at it from an exterior point of view and be like, oh, well, I'll just stare at this and then it'll function just like the one I have on me. I think that there was some leeway in there for that.
No. Very, very quick. One character that I would like to see replaced.
Oh.
But it's impossible to do so.
Impossible.
Towards the end, when you see a bunch of the pirates, there is Ving Rhames as one of the pirates.
Yeah, yeah.
And I thought, wouldn't it be great if, and he's passed on, so it's impossible, Michael Clark Duncan was that pirate. He's in Planet of the Apes.
Yeah.
He's in The Green Mile.
Yeah.
He's in Night at the Roxbury.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect.
Yeah.
The guy's a tank.
Yeah.
And he loves making movies, especially science fiction movies like this.
Yeah, he likes a lot of comic book movies and sci-fi and stuff. Yeah. Yeah. No, I miss me some Michael Clark Duncan. speaking of other types of cameos too, Sylvester Stallone was a big surprise.
True.
And he kind of reminded me of Judge Dredd in that outfit.
Yeah, I was trying to put my finger on it. I'm thinking that costume looks familiar, and he's done some sci-fi. What is that? It was a while ago. I don't remember, but who cares?
Yeah. I thought that was interesting. I liked it. I thought it was fine. It didn't bother me one way or the other. I'm glad that he didn't have more screen time than he had. I felt like that was the perfect amount. I think if they were to just try and lavish him with all this additional screen time, it would have been pandering, and it's just know. And that's actually one of the other positives about this film that I really like is that you actually have like a lot of great actors who are part of this film, even if like the roles themselves are really quick.
Right.
I like the fact that it speaks to how comic book movies are officially mainstream.
Right.
That it's no longer this kind of socially awkward backroom concept. It's actually like, wow, no, everybody here loves comic books and everybody here loves comic book movies. It's just, it's a big win, I feel like.
And science fiction can be very, very fun. It doesn't have to be something nerdy and geeky and Star Trek-y, all about that. It could be something that's filled with everyday music and family connections, life experiences. So.
Yeah.
And also, I mean, there's an element to movies where you can tell the actors are having a very, very good time making the film and they're into it versus like, I'm really trying to get this Oscar through this title. You know?
Yeah.
And it just seemed like everybody was having a great time acting in this film.
Sure, yeah.
And that was infectious to me. I enjoyed watching everybody act and all the lines.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what?
Oh.
I'm sorry.
Oh, you're touching me.
I have to stop you before you said anything else.
I was about to go, hey!
I want to go back to the family thing for a second.
Okay.
I think the film also showed that you could have disagreements, big disagreements with people that you love and your family members. Mm-hmm. And that's okay. You can still love that person even though you disagree with them or you might have a grudge with them. You don't sever the relationship. You get through it. You put on your big boy or big girl pants and you grow from it. Yeah. You don't let it hinder the growth of that bond or that relationship. Mm-hmm. And you saw a lot of disagreements between the characters, Rocket and Star-Lord, and you saw it with Drax and the new character.
The one that could tell feeling. I don't know. What was her? Let me see.
I mean, she was obviously attracted to him and he was to her, but he was still bearing this very deep sorrow for his deceased wife and family and felt he couldn't get past it. But at the end, he dropped his guard.
I have no idea what that character's name is.
Right.
I'm searching IMDb and I don't see it, but we can just call her the touchy-feely alien.
The antennae.
Yeah. Well, I think even Drax had a line in the film. I don't remember exactly what he said, but it was something along the lines of how that's what family does. Like they shout at each other.
Yeah, and it's interesting to hear him say that because throughout the rest of the movie, he's just this kind of bungling, strong guy.
I love Drax.
I know. I love Drax too, but he's somebody who's kind of tying together these oxymorons in a way. And you're going, this guy is just, I'm glad he's a strong, beefy character, but he doesn't have much intelligence, obviously. And he's the one to draw everybody close in the end and make that connection that no one else or saw.
Well, then Dave Bautista did such a great job just delivering those lines. And that's actually pretty hard to do if you think about it. Like if you kind of study how he's going about it, that's difficult to pull off and have it be funny. And I think he just nails each line. It's just so great. Like it can almost go into cliche or corny or stupid. And then there's the punch part of it and you're like, oh, that was great.
Yeah.
So another concept of it that I thought was interesting was the relationship between, I forgot the names again. What is it?
There's a lot of names to remember, Rose.
Nebula and
there you go,
Gamora and Nebula. Yeah, what did you think of that whole thing?
Again, I liked how they were mean, they were wanting to kill each other. You can't get much more severed than that.
A lot of salty wounds.
But I mean, I'm glad that with all like the mechanics and all the emotion and wanting to slaughter, they were able to bury the laser hatchet, if you will.
It was cool. I mean, and once again, it's another exploration of family dynamics.
Right.
I mean, that was what the whole film was about, was just like relationships with
Cain and Abel dynamics. I wouldn't say like general dynamics, Russ.
No, I mean, like when it comes to family, like that was a reoccurring theme, and they explored it in different capacities. Like you had Star-Lord with Ego, you had Nebula with Gamora, you had Rocket Raccoon with pretty much all of them. But also with Yondu. And it was just, I really like that. I like that exploration of like, how could certain family relationships be repaired, be mended, you know,
Right.
and which ones could not, which ones are deal breakers,
Right.
and which ones, well, like what I mentioned earlier, may not be blood related. Like you may be tighter as a result of someone else because of the way they touch your life. And that's, I mean, touch, grope. It's just one of those things that, when you stop to look at the movie as what we saw, that was the meat and potatoes of the film. They're really, we weren't going to all these other worlds. However, I will say I absolutely laughed my buttocks off.
I laughed my glutes off.
When it was Rocket Raccoon, Yondu, and like Yondu's like first mate or whatever, and like they're trying to get to where Star-Lord is, and so Rocket like taps in this thing where they end up like light speeding toward like 700 planets or whatever. Their faces were just so distorted, like just so messed up.
They're just like looking at each other and like
Yeah, it was just so good. I just love that. And they kept coming back to it. I thought that's what was great too, is like it never got old. Like you could have like this really like horrible scene or something that was sad, and then it just cuts right back to them going,
I thought it, and in many science fiction, space science fiction movies, when you have light speed, you don't know, how far they're actually traveling. They're just going light speed for who knows how long, right? But you don't know how much of an effect that's going to have on your biology. And so I think it's kind of funny they touched on that because, a couple of jumps, no problem. We're doing 700. You're like, this is gonna be different.
Yeah, that was good. And Bradley Cooper, man, he brings Rocket Raccoon to life. I mean, if I was an animator and I think it was either ILM or Weta Workshop, I'm not sure which one it was, but if I'm an animator, what a treasure of inspiration that is, just to hear his voiceover and just, you're like, dude, I'm going to bring this character to life. This is great. And just based off of that alone. And also Vin Diesel too. I mean, Vin Diesel and Bradley Cooper, you don't see them, to my knowledge anyway, that they don't have any kind of physical presence in the film. But I love me some Rocket. Oh my gosh.
It's funny. You got any tape? Let me ask around.
Yeah.
Everyone's like trying to, fend for their lives.
Yeah.
Nope, no one's got any tape. Oh, I've been there before.
Yeah.
I'm telling you. Past jobs.
You've been there when you're fighting off some huge celestial freak and all the world's going to hell in a handbasket.
And then someone
you need is some tape.
I need some freaking tape.
Yeah. Yeah. Which actually, I don't think I've ever asked you this before. But which character is your favorite? Oh.
Probably.
He's on the verge of having a aneurysm, folks.
I think I just have to. Little puff of smoke come out my ear.
Yeah.
I think I would still have to go with Star-Lord.
Star-Lord, okay.
Yeah. Mainly because of because of the expressions that he has and his emotions towards family and to music. how he jokes.
Mm-hmm. It's really difficult not to like his character.
Yeah, and he's definitely a very innocent character.
Oh yeah,
I mean, he's a pirate, stealing stuff, and he's got his guns and whatever, but he's still very innocent and pure in heart and mind.
Very similar. Well, not similar, but he's a scoundrel.
Oh, you were gonna say for a minute there? I was gonna say, I thought you were gonna say, kind of like you, Steve. I'm like, yes, like me.
Yeah, it's just like you, Steve. Just like you. Yeah. A bald Star-Lord over here.
I'm gonna be that for Halloween. If Star-Lord were bald, I'm gonna grow a little pointed mutton chops right here. I'm gonna dye it kind of that strawberry blonde. I can pull it off.
You pull
of course,
it off.
A short Star-Lord. Star-Lord nonetheless.
I would go so far as to say fun-sized Star-Lord, Steve.
I do like the chemistry between Star-Lord and Gamora, too. They just didn't jump right into, going back and forth, and there's obviously something here. I mean, they did draw it out, and I appreciate when they draw it out.
I'm sorry, Gamora is freaking hot. She is just, wow.
Even though she's an alien. I'd date that.
Yeah. Oh. I would, tap that.
Green skin don't matter.
No, it doesn't. We are color blind in this studio. Yeah. No, she's just she's hot. And her attitude's hot. She's just hot. She's sharp. Everything. And it's like she's as sharp as a sword that's right next to her thigh. That thigh. Very nice thigh.
In the beginning, all she had to do was slice him down the middle of that creature, and then all these bullets and these lasers and stuff are bouncing off the thing. That was funny too. It's like he was saying, you have a gun now, but that's my thing.
Yeah.
Swords are your thing. Guns are my thing.
Yeah. That's a very nerd geek-esque thing.
I loved it.
It was just that was good. But yeah, getting back to the fact that Gamora is just, to be fair, Zoe is hot. I have loved all films that Zoe has been in. I mean, she is just gorgeous, absolutely beautiful, and so it's real fun to see. But yeah, I liked in this film how there was a new kind of thread to her character, which was just she was kind of the realist, like she never really lost her wits. If you noticed, there were different types of distractions going on, but she was always just kind of the one that was the glue for the team, just to be able to be like, hey, something's not right. What is going on here? What's going on there? In a very protective manner. And I thought that was cool. I enjoyed that.
I like the slow dance scene.
Yeah.
I don't. You can dance however you want to dance. I'm very old school with dance, and I like if I'm gonna slow dance with a woman.
I like to do the no pants dance.
Moving on. I like to hold the girl when I'm dancing with her, and I like that old school dance.
I bet you don't.
I don't. And there's the nonverbal language of closing that distance, even with your face. It means different things. You're swaying to the music, just very slow, and it's intimate and it's romantic without going over the top. Mm-hmm. And the message really did get across because their eyes are saying something, their physical distance is saying something, where she has her hands on his shoulder and his hand says something. I think it was a just very high chemistry moment between the two of them.
Sure.
Some might see it as just a dance, and dance was a thing in the movie. Yeah. Because Chris Pratt was a dancer. Gamora is not a dancer, even though everybody can slow dance. I mean, everybody can.
Well, and yeah, just to your point, dance, there is a lot that is unspoken, just like in what the film talked about too. The film kind of weaved that into the screenplay as they're dancing about just what's unsaid. And so, yeah, that was a fun, endearing moment there. She's hot. I'm sorry. I have a
clear thoughts, Russ.
I'm trying. I can't. All I see is a lot of hot green.
A lot of Zoe.
That's right. What else is there about the film? I feel like I'm asking you all the questions. Do you have any questions for me?
Whereas I'm here to I'm going off of what you're saying. I brought up plenty of stuff.
Oh, okay.
Excuse me.
Well, you didn't ask me who my favorite character is.
Who's your favorite character, Russ?
I have no idea. I think.
What's your favorite color, Russ?
Why, that would be red. I can answer that one. What's your favorite color? Blue?
Blue.
Ah, okay.
Now that we've established that, back to the movie.
I was going to say red and blue make green, but no, it doesn't. It makes purple. And then I could have gone it. Yeah, anyway. I go back and forth. I love Star-Lord. I think Star-Lord is just great. I think I can identify with him the most out of all the characters, just because he is the one human out of all of them. But having said that, Rocket Raccoon, I mean, every time it's just a treat to see him on screen. Gamora, though, is great too. I mean, I find myself being intrigued by Gamora. Drax also is just. I don't think Drax is one of the deepest characters. He's definitely one of the more supporting, round-out roles of the whole thing. But, I mean, even having said that, I also liked how they used his character in this film. Right. How he bonded with the touchy-feely alien, and as a result was able to find out kind of what nefarious purpose that Ego had. And I just, it's difficult to understand. Groot, of course, is great too.
There's something to like about all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate different qualities and attributes from each one. I don't really have one that's like head and shoulders above the rest.
I'm going to look up. I'm going to MDib Guardians of the Galaxy now that I turned off my phone. I'm going to dib it again, and we're going to get to the bottom of this. We're going to find the name of the new character.
Oh, the touchy-feely alien?
Yeah.
She did good too. Like all of the new characters that they introduced into the team that they kind of adopted into the Guardians family. Like I'm like, yeah. Mantis? Oh yeah.
Dude.
That's Mantis?
Yeah.
Are you sure that's her?
That's the character.
Let me see.
If I go back. Bam.
So that's the character's name is Mantis. Wow.
Yeah.
Let me see your picture again. Why is it doing that?
Go hit it here.
Wow, she looks way different than how she looked in the film.
They made her over pretty well.
Yeah. Well, she can touchy-feely my feelings anytime she wants. I love that scene too, by the way. Like just when she put her hands, and they actually did this in the trailer. This speaks highly too, is the fact that this was shown quite a bit throughout the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 trailers. Right. It's still just as funny watching it again. I watched that like 20 times. I still laugh at it. I thought it was just great. You know, the way that Drax is reacting to and all that. It was just,
One thing they didn't show in the movie that they did in the trailer was the scene where Drax says to him about the whole dancing thing. They're in the spaceship and they're having that little conversation. Drax asks Star-Lord, "Do you want to hear my opinion?" And Star-Lord says, "No, don't want to hear it."
Yeah.
And then they go forward and he tells him about the whole entire thing, and then Star-Lord says, I said I didn't want to hear your opinion. I guess I'm going to hear it anyway. Sort of thing.
Yeah.
And it's just that more awkwardity. So I hope there's a deleted scene in the Blu-ray when it comes out.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm sure they'll have all kinds of goodies in there.
Yeah.
I realize I don't even own the first Guardians. I'm actually a little behind on that because I bought like the Marvel comes out with these big collections like where like it's like Phase 1, Phase 2, that sort of thing. I have Phase 1. And I'm really glad that we're talking about this because it totally skipped my mind. I want to get that collector's edition version where they have like all of the Marvel films that have come out for Phase 2. And I can't remember if it's in like a Tesseract.
I think it's a Tesseract.
Is that what it was? I need to look that up. I need to find that because I'd like to buy it before they all go away.
Well, I don't think Guardians of the Galaxy is included in that. I think that's just...
You don't think so?
I think it's just like the Avenger members' stories. I don't think that's Guardians. So you'll
That's
have
worth
like the
looking
Captain
up.
America series and the Thor series and Hulk and then the Avengers movies. So everything having to do with the Tesseract,
Right.
which Guardians to this point hasn't touched that.
Right.
At the end, when it shows Stan Lee,
Yeah.
when he was saying, "Let me tell you about that time that I worked for FedEx."
Yeah.
You know where that's from?
No, actually.
So over the weekend, I rewatched Captain America: Civil War.
Oh man, that's such a good movie.
It's a great movie, and watching it the second time was just as good as the first time.
Yeah.
But the little cameo that he was in that movie is a FedEx guy, and he comes in and says to Tony Stark, I got a package for Tony Stank. Stank?
Oh yeah.
Right? And then Steve Rogers looks at Tony Stark and says, "Oh, I'm never going to let that down. You mind? What if we make a reservation at a restaurant for Tony Stank?"
Yeah.
Stan Lee was dressed as a FedEx guy.
And so then, do you remember what Stan Lee was saying in Guardians of the Galaxy 2?
Yeah, when those people were walking away, he was like, "Hey, you're my ride. I haven't even told you guys about the story when I worked for FedEx."
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
That's cool. And wasn't it fun seeing Stan Lee after meeting him, like seeing him in the film again?
Yeah.
I don't think that we've really talked about that on this show yet. We'll have to get to that in a future episode. But with us going to Dallas Comic-Con this year, we were able to have a photo op with Stan Lee. In fact, I'll post that on Twitter and Facebook for the Joygasm pages. Just if you guys are curious, you can check it out. But it was so cool because we just walk in and there he is sitting there in the chair, and he greets us and with like the typical Stan Lee sound. He's just like, "Hey, you fellas," and we're just like, "Oh my God, it's Stan Lee!" And of course they had bodyguards that were just out of frame and stuff, so we had to really mind our P's and Q's. But it was so cool to like get our photo taken, and that's something that I know for me, I'm gonna treasure that forever.
Yeah.
In fact, I still need to get a frame for that picture.
Right.
I want to be able to hang that up in all of its glory. But I thought it was cool to like see him up there again. Like, yeah, we had a chance to meet that guy, and he's 94 years old.
Yeah.
So
Still with all those wits about him.
yeah, good for him. God bless him. I'm trying to think if there are any other parts worth mentioning throughout the film that I haven't asked you about.
I kind of miss that they didn't bring back. I forgot what the old world the name was in the first movie.
They had a few of them.
Yeah, a few of them, but it was where the Collector was.
Well, his place got thrashed, if you remember.
Right, but I mean, the world still existed because...
Yeah, kinda.
Yeah, but, I mean, I don't know. They didn't make any reference to it. I was hoping for somewhat of a reference.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the movie was very imaginative with the drones and how they had this kind of arcade-style sound to them. I mean, it reminded me of being at Scandia back home.
Yeah. Well, that they totally
Right.
they meant for that to happen.
Yeah.
Because I thought the same thing, like the old school 80s style going to an arcade scene, and where like, you could kind of have that smell of like overheated arcade cabinets with like melted buttered popcorn mixed with BO, just like, all those synthesized sounds. Yeah, no, I will forever treasure that particular smell. It brings me right back. But yeah, go ahead.
And I like the scenes where some of the drone operators were they had a crowd behind them and like, "Oh yeah, okay, do this, oh do that," just like when you're playing a game, everyone's like, "Okay, he's gonna do that, you're gonna do this, watch out for that guy,"
Yeah.
And then when he fails, everyone's like, "Man, you suck. What's wrong with you?" And the despair crawls over the person's face. Like, man, I thought I was doing pretty good there. I mean, give me some credit.
I found myself almost looking for like the row of quarters that you would put up, where it's like the unspoken rule where like, hey, if you lose, I'm next. Yeah, that was really cool too. There's just a lot of fun moments like that. I mean, I think it was just so cool for people like you and I who grew up in the 80s. There are lots of shout outs, whether it was the music or fun little inside jokes like that or whatever it is that younger folks won't necessarily understand or get. it's just, yeah, I think we're finally at that age where they're starting to kind of have fun with that. And so
I think it's also worthy to point out that imagining all these different spaceships, weapons, worlds, aliens, it's kind of becoming difficult because everyone's designed everything already. I mean, where do you go from here? And in the first Guardians movie, I was impressed by the imagination of everything, from the battleships to the little spaceships to weapons and all this thought that went into making this galaxy of Guardians of the Galaxy, right? Mm-hmm. And so none of that was lost on the movie. They still brought in brand new stuff, brand new looks to different races, brand new weapons and shields and whatever. So kudos for them.
Mm-hmm. I had originally planned on watching the original Guardians of the Galaxy, but I just didn't get around to doing that.
Hashtag life.
Yeah. How many stars would you give the film out of 5 stars?
Between a 4 and a 4 out of 5.
Between a 4 and a 4 out of 5?
Yeah, I don't know if I would go 4 or.
Do you mean 4.5 out of 5?
Excuse me, yeah, 4.5 out of 5. Okay. I think.
I was kind of like, wait, what?
Between 4 and 5. 5 would have to be a perfect film,
right?
And you know me, just being a very, very critical guy.
Yeah.
So I mean, there was some stuff that I think they could have done better, but that's me picking at granules of salt, basically, I think. But
there was a part in the film that if there was a negative, if I felt there was a weak part, it was just the whole explanation process that Kurt Russell was giving to Chris Pratt. Like when he was kind of walking in kind of his main palace-y area, and there were like those weird, almost like museum statue pieces, like pods, where like it would come around and it would show. I felt like that was almost kind of lazy. I'm going to come out and say it. I thought that was lazy storytelling to like do that. I felt like there could have been a better method to visually give us the necessary storyline for that. I don't know. I found myself going, not feeling it.
Yeah, that part. Plus, I think that it was a little rushed. They kind of slapped up to that part of the story a little too quickly, I think. They could have drew it out. I know they have some time constraints. I mean, the movie's a couple hours long, but...
I think it was like 2 hours and 15 minutes.
So they had to take it somewhere, but I just think they slapped it together a little too quick. I mean, the guy's father comes in this episode and he leaves this episode, and that's it. So, and we said goodbye to Star-Lord's father, and we said goodbye to Yondu. And that's two big characters that are now gone. They're not coming back.
At least not that we know of.
Well, not that we know of, but I mean...
It's pretty safe to assume.
It's pretty safe to assume. I mean, yeah, they might come back, but Yondu is obviously dead. It's kind of a rule in Hollywood where if you see somebody die, they're kind of dead.
Yeah.
So...
I would give it also probably 4 out of 5 stars. And just because 5 stars, like it's Empire Strikes Back is 5 stars to me. Right. Even Lord of the Rings 2 Towers is 5 stars to me. So it takes quite a bit to get up there. I would say the original Guardians of the Galaxy was 4.5 stars.
Yeah.
And this one's 4 stars, which, again, nothing to sneeze at. It's still, I thoroughly enjoyed myself. I had a great time.
Right. No, I mean, 4 out of 5 stars for a Hollywood flick is definitely a good rating. I mean, I want to see it again in the theater.
Yeah.
I'm glad movies are coming out quicker and quicker to Blu-ray and DVD, but I think it's definitely worthy to see twice in the theater.
Right. Yeah. Well, cool. And like I said earlier, if you guys have any kind of comments that you'd like to add to it, please hit us up at Joygasm TV on Twitter, or if you go to facebook.com/Joygasm, you should be able to find our lovely little logo there and just be able to give us some feedback. We'd love to hear your opinions as well in terms of what you thought of the film. So, in addition to our bro date of Guardians of the Galaxy 2, I think it is worth mentioning also that in our previous episode that we were talking, we had discovered that you never saw the movie No Country for Old Men.
Yeah. No Country for Old Men.
That's right. Coen Brothers film. Coen Brothers are some of my favorites. You know what? Actually, let's pause it really quick. Hold that thought. The trailer before Guardians of the Galaxy, I just feel compelled to just mention that really quick. Lots of films coming out that look good. Thor, Ragnarok, real fun. Dunkirk.
Just give it an Oscar now and let's be done with it.
Yeah, Dunkirk is just amazing. It's the next Christopher Nolan film. I feel like I get to toot my horn on this a bit. I showed you the first teaser trailer of that film, and you're like, what? Like, you were interested in seeing it because I told you it was the next Christopher Nolan film. And I remember after you saw the initial teaser, you were like looking at me like, oh man, that looks intense. And so now we got another one. Dude, that film, I'm sorry, that looks like yet another masterpiece. Just far and away, it's another Christopher Nolan masterpiece. It's going to be so great. And I think, does it come out this summer? Or is that next year?
I think it's next year.
You know what? Look on your phone. Let's check that out. Anyway, you guys are in for it's kind of a no-brainer, but you guys are in for a treat in terms of the amount of trailers that are coming out. There was Thor. There's a trailer for Spider-Man Homecoming. There was a trailer for Dunkirk. Of course, they showed Star Wars: The Last Jedi, but I mean, a lot of these trailers have already been viewed by most folks online.
This year.
So, it is. It's July 21st. Dunkirk comes out. Okay, so yeah, we are totally going to go see that film. That goes without saying. I am very much looking forward to that. In addition to Pirates of the Caribbean and Spider-Man Homecoming. There are a few others that are escaping my mind. So anyway, just had to get that out there. You guys are going to love the trailer to Dunkirk. Anyway, let's go to No Country for Old Men. So in our previous episode, Steve had mentioned he had never seen the film. So we decided to have yet another bro date and had you over to the house to watch the film. So I am going to ask you straight up, what'd you think?
Well, it definitely is a movie that'll stick with you for a couple nights. The villain is another, crazy guy, but at the same time, he's Javier. He's not crazy as in, flailing your arms around and Joker style crazy, but he's got that mental tweak about him where you look him in the eye and you say the wrong thing.
He's not right in the head.
And he's not right in the head, yeah.
This is a twisted individual that has principles and ideals that are going to make you dead.
Right. Anyhow, so the way they made the film with little to no music was very effective because it kept my attention throughout the whole movie. I think sometimes music makes you is so grandiose in a way, it makes you lose focus to what they want you to see, and they rather have you focus on what to hear.
Sure.
And this, you were totally focused on what was happening in front of you. So the lines the characters had, and the sound effects too. A lot of the sound that was in the movie was very, very well.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very good.
But did you like the film? What did you think overall?
I'm going on with it, Russ. I'm just trying to address it, little by little.
Okay, just doling it out. I see the approach.
I did like the film. At the time, it seemed to go by very, very fast. I'm just trying to see scenes out of it in my mind. I liked Tommy Lee Jones' character, but he's kind of always the sheriff or the martial law.
It's Tommy Lee Jones being Tommy Lee Jones,
right.
And that's just gold.
The Louellette Moss, I think his name was Louellette.
I don't know.
I think his name is Llewellyn Moss. That's what his name. The guy with the mustache.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Money.
Mm-hmm.
I just saw in a recent flick, Sicario. he had played a role in Sicario. I knew I had seen him before. He was good, and I like how they kind of displayed him being like this trailer park lifestyle, and he had a Vietnam background, and so he knew how to survive and how to hunt and how to track, how to deal with the hot desert climate. And I liked how he was somewhat stripped of emotion. I mean, he had fear, but he could mentally bury his pain in a way. And so when he saw that guy dying in the beginning of the movie, and the guy's like just gasping for any kind of water, he's like, well, I don't have any, and I can't help you, and so I'm just going to keep on looking around here and see what I find and scavenge the area.
And his one act of kindness got him into a pickle.
And cost him his life. Yeah, isn't that just the truth? Try to do something nice for you, and then you get in a car accident or so. I mean, isn't that just life?
Did you like how raw the film was? Like, just in terms of the visual storytelling, it was very kind of had this stark contrast taking place in the 70s, and just real unforgiving environment.
Yeah, I did like that. But I think they contrasted the environment with the very nice appeal of the residents in the movie. Everybody who was either helping the main character or the villain out in the movie was very kind-hearted and just wanted to do something to be nice. But lo and behold, nice deeds ended up caught. I mean, in a way, that's a little bit twisted of a theme. You go out of your way to help somebody to be nice because you're a good human being, and then you end up getting killed for it or hunted down or what have you. I mean, how many times did that happen in the movie? I mean, that's about 5 times at least. Mm-hmm. Anyhow.
So what did you think of the villain?
Yeah, I kept on thinking. I don't know. It was just something about the guy's voice and the way he looked in his eyes. He didn't have to be loud for him to be threatening.
Right.
And I mean, any kind of villain is going to be careless with people's lives, and they're just not going to care, and they're going to kill them anyway. So whatever. But the way he did it was with that silencer on the shotgun. That I had never seen that before. That was a really cool sound.
Whatever that air canister sound. Cattle prod. Not cattle prod, but like the thing you kill cattle with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, and it's just that silent, eerie, haunting,
dread,
menacing. Yeah, dread.
I mean, he was death incarnate.
Yeah,
it was just and also too, it played into because I haven't seen the film since it was in theaters back in 2007, so it was a fun treat for me as well. But I forgot just how strong the acting. Once again, the acting performances, like you said, there was really no soundtrack whatsoever. And a lot of the scenes were just these long, drawn-out scenes that had a lot of clever storytelling, and I guess a better way of saying it had a clever screenplay. All the different lines of dialogue were just so well done, but I mean that's what I come to expect from a Coen Brothers film. Every Coen Brothers film just has such delicious dialogue.
Right.
It's a treat for the ears for sure.
I just think that that theme of not going out of your way to help somebody was prevalent in the movie from start to finish. No Country for Old Men. It's the old men living in old times who went out of their way to do the kind thing to help them out, to help anybody out who was stranded on the side of the street. And nowadays, it's who can you trust, and do you risk being nice to somebody with the cost of harm to you, potential harm to you? What's the ratio? Do I help this person out and live, or do I help this person out and maybe sacrifice myself? Something simple like charging someone's battery or giving them a lift. What's the cost to you? And why should you be nice to somebody? So anyway, the theme and the title kind of went hand in hand in that sense. One thing I didn't care for was how Tommy Lee Jones, being the sheriff, treated his deputy.
Oh.
And I know it works for the film. It was just a pet peeve for me in my life because of previous employers that I have had. Some of them, if I'm in the learning curve and I don't know about everything entailing the job, and that's why I'm in training. Teach me.
Yeah.
Let me learn from you. Don't just make it obvious that the question I'm asking is stupid when I don't know the answer to that question.
Right.
And so the deputy was a nice guy. I wanted to learn, and Tommy Lee Jones didn't really squish him that much. But he just did it enough to where it almost seemed like a waste of the deputy's time to even ask Tommy Lee Jones what he should do or not do. When he's trying to come to him, giving him advice and asking him.
I think that kind of plays into just how experienced Tommy Lee Jones' character was. As the old sheriff, he had seen his fair share of different situations and stuff, whereas the deputy has not had as many, and as a result, you saw more of the innocence from the deputy, whereas Tommy Lee Jones was kind of questioning whether or not mankind is destined to survive or not. Which, if you think about it, like a lot of people in law enforcement can have a jaded view of life just based on their day in and day out jobs of having to deal with the unfortunate lower parts of the human condition.
True, but everyone's got to start from somewhere. I mean, even Tommy Lee Jones started at where the deputy started and grew and matured to be the trained professional that he is. But you can't give up on the younger generation because just for the mere fact that they're younger and they don't know as much as you know.
And I don't think he gave up on it.
Yeah,
I think it had more to do with just like he was already troubled and stressed about this particular case, and also just I see what you're saying.
But it was the case that never got solved, number one, and number two, he already knew he was going to retire. He was wanting to get out of the business just to live a retired life, and so he's handing the reins over to somebody who is somewhat maltrained. Just, I've been there plenty of times before. It's like that's not the best decision you want to do if you're purposefully going to know you're going to retire, and you want to set the person up for success, not failure.
What'd you think of the ending of the film?
It ended the way The Sopranos ended, pretty much. I didn't care for it in a way. There's just too many knots untied for me. There was parallels with the dreams that he had for the rest of the film, but in the same respect, you had to just be okay with the villain walking away and probably killing more people. I mean, he had his money and he killed who he had to kill in his wake. But I mean, is that where his life ends? Because he's not normal now. He's still tweaked. He's still messed up in the head. And he's probably always going to want more money or drugs or whatever he did to get the money. So that part you have to be okay with. You never saw what happened with the deputy. He just became the deputy. And then Tommy Lee Jones retires, but he's always going to be worried and concerned. And a part of him is still going to be always with law enforcement, even though he's not employed as law enforcement. So we just have to be okay with that. And you never really see him, hand the reins over to the deputy. It's just he had a conversation with this stoic family member and about his departure from being a sheriff. And then all of a sudden he was just retired after he saw the Llewellyn Moss lying there dead, which, I mean, being a sheriff, you're going to see dead people everywhere. So I don't think that was a turning point for him. He just ended. I thought that was just too soon. Excuse me.
Yeah, they had to wrap up. They wanted to get some final points across.
But I just prefer... I can respect the movie makers leaving it up to the viewer to come to their own conclusions. I can respect that. But in this one, I think, even though I enjoyed the film, the end left too much untied for me, and it just, whatever you want to happen, happened. Cool. But I would like to see some conclusions.
Yeah. So what rating would you give that film?
I would say 3.5.
Okay.
3 to 3.5. I only because I didn't enjoy it as much as I enjoyed Guardians of the Galaxy, and I didn't enjoy it enough to have it be a 4. I'm glad I saw it. I'd probably recommend it to some of my friends. It is definitely a movie worth seeing. But at the same time, I'm not going to go out of my way to tell people that they have to go see it. Or if it was in the theater, I don't know if I'd have to pay extra money to go see it in the theater either. But again, I'm glad I saw it. And if anybody has Amazon Prime and they're looking for a great flick to watch not with the family, but definitely not for the kids.
Yeah.
But a good
have the baby watch it.
But a good film, a good thriller film to watch.
Right.
I would definitely recommend it.
Yeah, that for me, I love the film. It's definitely a film that I can't watch all the time because it is kind of a downer of a film, but I'm just riveted every time I've watched it. I'm just like, my goodness, which, it's only, I think I watched it one time when it came out on DVD back in the day when DVDs were king. But overall, it's definitely one of the more darker Coen Brothers films, but to me, that's okay. I actually like kind of going away from what I'm used to, which is more of like everything gets buttoned up at the end and we have a happy ending. It's actually kind of a Western in that way. So I'm glad I had the opportunity to be able to sit down and watch it with you and be able to just kind of vicariously live through your first experience with it. So
right. I thought they were going to have Woody Harrelson's character live a little bit longer.
Yeah.
So you can see where he came from, because obviously he knew the villain, kind of a John Wick sort of deal where, Woody Harrelson was probably another assassin, a little messed up in that sense, not nearly as messed up as the villain, but he knew who the villain was and he knew the dark deals to be made. He just wasn't as twisted as Harvey.
Well, and I like to your point about John Wick, one of the things I like about the world of John Wick is that you have this, like you said, League of Assassins. There's kind of this world that they all live in. They all kind of know each other. There's a mutual
respect.
To a certain extent, there is some like a mutual respect, but there's also kind of a mutual truce, I guess you could say.
Yeah, mutual lethality.
Yeah. It's kind of like, I know you're lethal, but I'm lethal too. And in order for it to not, burn down into anarchy and chaos, there are certain rules that are in place. And to a certain extent, I think that No Country for Old Men had that same thing, like with Woody Harrelson's character talking to Javier and whatnot. I unfortunately don't remember the actual character names in the film, but I actually liked how he wasn't in the film that long. It's things like that where you have a prominent actor and you think, oh, this actor is going to be here for a large part of the film, and to have them turn it around and be like, nope, actually he's only in there for like maybe 10 minutes. I thought that was a nice surprise as well. So
don't be greedy.
That's right. And don't bring jugs of water to dying drug dealers.
How can you turn down $2 million? But, his wife had nothing to do with it. Mm-hmm. Llewellyn's wife. And
yeah, that was a sad scene too.
Yeah, she kind of accepted her own death, unfortunately. I'm glad they didn't show him killing her.
It was kind of messed up though, like when he walked out of the house and he stopped and leaned on the front porch post and he like checked the bottom of his shoes. You could tell to make sure there wasn't any blood.
Right.
Yeah, it's a tragedy of a film. It really is. You see these people that get involved with the wrong kind of folks, and even the ones who stayed alive, like Tommy Lee Jones, you could tell that like just their faith in humanity has really taken a back seat. And so just I don't know, it just gives me pause just to kind of reflect on some of that. Not that I've lost my own faith in humanity. I think that there's a tremendous capacity for good, if I'm not being too strong in the Superman lore. But anyway, I think that's about all the time we have for this particular podcast. I hope that you guys all enjoyed our little bantering here for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, as well as No Country for Old Men. And just to repeat ourselves once again, you can find us on Twitter at Joygasm TV. You can also find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Joygasm. You can also find us on YouTube, which is where I'm going to be placing our podcasts as well, just for convenience sake. And that is also Joygasm. And you can just find, I think initially it's going to be a little hard to track down, but just look for our sweet little logo there, as well as some saucy pictures of Steve and me. And then you'll be all set to go. So until next time, we'll see you later, and happy gaming.
See you guys.